This movie left me feeling empty walking out of the theater. Tatsuki Fujimoto, the man who created Chainsaw Man, one of my personal favorite animes of the past years, created a one-shot manga called Look Back. He was able to get this approved to be an animated film and release it in theaters for a couple weeks in October. Luckily, my girlfriend and I watched it literally on the last day they had showtimes. Now, I know Tatsuki Fujimoto is a son of a gun when it comes to his art. He likes to make us feel a sense of despair. So I was prepared for this, or at least I thought it was. This video is going to contain spoilers for Look Back. You have been warned. Look Back summary. Now, first of all, this film was very short at 55 minutes or so, and this personally made me scared that it wasn't going to be enough runtime for us to really connect to the characters and actually enjoy the movie. I thought I was going to be rushed, and well, I was wrong for assuming that. The story follows Ayumi Fujino, a young and talented artist who creates the manga on the school newspaper. She really prides herself in her art so much that we see her showboating in the beginning of the movie. Rightfully so too, because we see her first little project, which was really funny and cute, showing a couple dying in a car crash. They kiss as they die, saying they will find each other in another life, in reincarnation. The girl is born again, grows up and remembers her partner, the one she lost in her last life, and she remembers she has to go back to him and kiss him once more. And as she realizes this, we see a meteor approaching the earth, and the meteor has lips puckered up ready to kiss. I really loved how this movie even made animations for the manga itself that the girls were creating. I thought that was really unique and really fun to watch. Well, one day the teacher says to Fujini that you're going to be getting help now from a classmate for the school newspaper manga art in the back. And the thing is that Kiyomoto, the girl who's going to be starting to implement her own art into the newspaper, doesn't actually go to the school in person. We don't find out later to why, but this frustrates Fujino even more. The day comes when her classmate Kiyomoto has her art displayed for the first time on a paper, and her friends basically say that Fujino's art is completely terrible compared to Kiyomoto's, which is pretty ironic because literally a couple scenes earlier we were seeing how they were praising Fujino and her art, and that's where we see Fujino showboating and how amazing her art was. And it's crazy how quick they switched over to this show. This just shows how kids can be little monsters sometimes. And this day is where everything changes for Fujino because she takes these criticisms personally. This is during her 4th grade year. For the next 2 years, she becomes obsessed with making art and manga. I mean obsessed. She draws non-stop and wants to become the best artist in her school, beating Kiyomoto, of course. The paper is still coming out. Kiyomoto and Fujino are still sharing this paper with the school, and I really enjoyed this part of the movie because this obsession to get better reminded me of myself. This is how I become when I find something I really like creating videos or gaming. I obsess over it. I want to become the best so much that I block everything else and I just focus on this one thing I'm trying to get good at, like making videos or whatever it is. When I saw this young girl getting these criticisms and wanting to become better, I completely related to her so much on this level, as she is in this phase of her just completely focused on art, not doing school, not talking to people. Everyone's kind of worried about her because she's not talking to anyone. She has no more friends. She doesn't hang out with family. She's failing her classes. There's just nothing else going on in her life but art, and there's a lot of people who keep on bringing that up to her. She's focused on art for 2 years, and after these 2 years she kind of steps back and realizes, you know what, maybe this ain't even worth it. So she listens to all those people who are worried about her about failing classes and not having friends, and she completely stops doing art. I mean, she gets all of her books that she bought specifically to draw better. She gets all of her drawings that she worked on for the years and just throws it all away and becomes friends with a lot of people and etc. Then finally she's gonna graduate from grade school, from 6th grade, and the teacher asks her for one more favor: if she could deliver Kiyomoto's certificate for graduation, because of course she doesn't attend school in person. And we find out it's because Kiyomoto is scared of people and is very antisocial. He tells Fujino specifically to do it because they both shared that artistic side in the newspaper. Of course, Fujino does not want to do this because she does not like her, and that's the whole reason why she went into that 2-year time span of just going crazy into art and trying to become the best she could be. But she does it. She shows up at her front door. Fujino knocks and there's no response, so she just enters the house and asks if anyone is there. It's quiet for a moment, but then she hears something in the background. She explores the house and sees a mountain of journals, the journals that looked exactly like hers that she would practice art in, and she immediately knew Kiyomoto was in this house somewhere. She keeps walking straight, looks to the left, and there's just a trail of notebooks, and you know what that is. It's Kiyomoto practicing her writing and her drawing, so she knows she's there. There's a closed door which clearly looks like Kyoto's room, and Fujino makes a little manga drawing basically saying she should die. And when she finishes it, she's like, what am I doing? This is ridiculous and this is dumb. And as she's going to walk away, the paper she wrote, the little drawing she wrote, accidentally falls out of her hand and slips under the door into where Kiyomoto is, or we assume she is. And Fujino's like embarrassed, so she runs out the house trying to escape before that person sees what she's done and what she's doing there. But we then see the camera angle or the perspective of someone following her, running exactly right behind her. And we see it's Kiyomoto who's behind her. And turns out she's actually a really huge fan of Kiyomoto's drawings and just goes non-stop blabbering and is having a whole fan moment with her, telling her what her favorite drawing was in 4th grade and why she stopped drawing and specific details of all her drawings. It's pretty funny. Kiyomoto asks why she stopped doing drawings in 6th grade, and Fujino says, well, she was just taking time off, but she actually just quit though. She's planning to make a huge project in her mind, so that's why she stopped drawing in the first place. But that's all a whole lie. Kimoto asks for an autograph and Fujino says okay. And there's a part of her that's kind of excited that Kimoto actually really likes her art, but she's not really expressing that yet. It starts to rain in the story with these characters outside, and Fujino says it's time to leave. And Kimoto says if she'll see her again, and Fujino says yeah, maybe. And we get one of my favorite sequences in the movie, which is Fujino walking in the rain back home, which slowly turns into her skipping a bit, then really skipping with joy and excitement for a long time. She ends up skipping for a long time, just going crazy, jumping up as high as she can with her arms, just waving as much as she can with all the physical power she has to go up. And she even starts running back home, and we really see her express her emotions as she's jumping alone and then her running back home. And she's running back home because guess what? She wants to start drawing again. The reason is because she finds out her nemesis isn't actually evil. In her mind, she thought it was her competition. She just assumed she was evil, but Kimoto is just a fan and loves drawing too. So this is where the story changes and Fujino and Kimoto become best friends, and they draw a whole lot in the story. We get a bunch of sequences of them drawing together in every single way you could think of. They end up entering manga contests as kids and actually end up winning a lot of them, which have a lot of cash prizes. And there's a moment in the story where Kimoto and Fujino hang out together, and Fujino treats out Kimoto into the city. She takes her to the city and they just have a lot of fun together. They buy a bunch of food, they go to stores, buy books, you name it, they were doing it. There's a lot of moments in these scenes where we see them really connecting and being best friends and just having that bonding experience after succeeding in drawing and winning these competitions. And they even share a heart-to-heart moment on the train back home, and it's where Kimoto says something like, I'm so glad I came out of my room because I got to meet you and experience all of these beautiful things now. And we see some time skips here, and this is where Fujino and Kimoto are way older. I assume like 6 years past or something, and they're still making manga and they're still selling stuff to publishers. But of course, as I mentioned before, Tatsuki, you son of a bitch, this is where the story takes a huge turn, where Kimoto tells Fujino that she wants to go to art school and study. And this is where Fujino realizes that she's not gonna have her help for the next project that they had just approved that they were gonna work on together. We see Fujino respond very harshly to Kimoto, and this is where we see one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the movie. Fujino just lashes out at her, saying she's not even gonna learn anything in school, it's pointless, and that she won't survive on her own. I mean, we know she's saying this because Kimoto has a really hard time talking to people in public, so it's pretty messed up for her to be saying this to her. Fujino even says Kimoto won't be able to survive on her own because she knows that Kimoto can't even talk to a cash register employee at a random convenience store. Fujino was really harsh and ugly in this part of the movie, and I was watching this and I couldn't believe it. I mean, after all this time, Fujino still has this hatred and lashes out at people when things don't go her way, and it was really depressing seeing this. She can't control that yet. And this is the part of the story where everything changes. From this moment on, they stop talking and there's not best friends anymore. The ending of the story. We see Fujino grow so much as a manga artist that she even gets her own office in this huge building. And there's this cool parallel shot that I remembered. When Fujino was a kid, we saw a medium shot of her drawing in her room. It was basically her drawing on her desk, but the camera was behind her far away and we just see her environment where she's in. And we get this exact same shot towards the end of the movie too. And it's just her though. It's her older in the building, and we see her with all the tech she has now drawing stuff. And then we see the city in the background. And it's so cool. I like that parallel a lot. She makes it. But one day Fujino's working and she has the news on her second monitor just playing randomly. We hear that there was an attack at a college, and this college name was mentioned, and yep, you guessed it, it's the one Kimoto is attending right now. So in a panic, Fujino grabs her phone and calls Kimoto. We find out Kimoto was murdered, and the next scenes of Fujino in the story were her in a very depressive state, and man, the detailed drawings of her face were completely devastating. amazing. I mean, it was just so uncomfortable to watch, and it was amazing art. I mean, the drawing was amazing, but you just felt really uncomfortable and really eerie watching her like that. It was insane how Tatsuki was able to just draw something and you could just feel the emotion that she's feeling, and it was just devastating seeing this. Fujino thinks it's her fault for making Kimoto come out of her room in the first place, and this is where we see an entire sequence of a different reality. I think it's just Fujino imagining a completely different reality where they're older and that's when they actually meet for the first time, not when they're kids, and Kimoto accidentally just remembers her name and is like, oh, you're that person who drew in 4th grade, right? And she nerds out, and this is where they're older and stuff. But I mean, this is all fake. She's just picturing a different world where things didn't happen like this, because if you think about it, the last time these two talked was in that very disgusting fight they had. It really just sucked seeing this, because we also see Kimoto was still supporting Fujino, because we see all of her hit manga in her cabinets of books, and it was filled of all the manga she was still making. It was like a reference to Chainsaw Man, because it looks exactly like Chainsaw Man, but it's not Chainsaw Man. But this part of the film was so dreadful and eerie, and to be honest, this is exactly how the film ends, at least for me personally. We see Fujino go back into her office and she just continues drawing, and that's that. That's literally how the film ends, just like that. My thoughts on Look Back. As a Chainsaw fan, I knew that Fujimoto was bound to create something beautiful, but that was going to be absolutely devastating. I went into this movie completely blind and was nervous for it being good because of the small amount of runtime it was going to be at. But this movie really impressed me, because in that short amount of time, I was able to connect to the characters so much and feel my heartache for what happens in the story. For this movie, I really want to rate it on how it made me feel. And it made me feel all the human emotions you can think of throughout the span of like 50 minutes. I felt happiness, peace, gratitude, anger, sadness, despair. This is the type of movie that can make you feel everything at once just watching it. Fujimoto really has a special talent in creating stories and characters that us, the audience, really like and connect to and feel for. If there's anything Look Back taught me, it's to be kind to one another. It's frustrating at times with friends, relationships, families, but try your best to really control your emotions and be aware of yourself. Don't lash out on someone when you can't properly communicate with them if there's something on your mind, because you never know if you'll see them again. There's also something in the manga that is a message in a way from Fujimoto to people. I saw this online a lot, and it was basically something like, don't look back in anger. You cannot change what has been done, but you can continue forward and remember how it brought you to where you are now. Conclusion. This movie was absolutely fantastic, and I recommend you to watch it. There was actually an interview with the director and the voice actors, which I really enjoyed, because the director really points out the little details in the movie and why he picked certain things to do and why he picked the voice actors, and even the voice actors express their favorite lines and their favorite moments in the movie, which was awesome to see, honestly. If you watch this movie, prepare yourself to cry yourself to sleep that night. If you made it this far into the video, I really appreciate you for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I've actually been planning it for a while, so if you liked it, make sure to subscribe for more weekly anime videos. And while I have you here, I also have a gaming channel if you want to check that out. I also have a Twitch where I stream every single week on there, and I'd really appreciate if I would check that out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun making this one. I will see you on the next one, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and peace, everybody.